Good morning. This is Steve Cantor with DBA Fundamentals for our first session um, in October. And today we have, um, let me see if I can mute somebody here. There we go. Okay. Today we have per Christopher Undheim with DB Watch, one of our sponsors, that will be presenting Managing SQL Server Farms versus Managing SQL Server Instances. And I think that's a really, really good topic for people nowadays because the company I'm with, we have so many SQL servers. It's a totally different concept now. So anyway, today only Shane and I are here. Everybody else had work things to do. That happens. Shane will be taking your questions. And let me go to the next screen. DB Watch is our sponsor, and they have a full-fledged enterprise manager that's a complete solution to manage server farms. And that's what Christopher's going to be talking to you about today. So I'm going to let him give the details of it. But here, if you want to make a copy of this screen, you have all the connectivity points and all the connection points, downloads of free trials. Please check those out because these are some good products. PASS has lots of virtual groups, and check those out if you want to look up other types of topics, different languages. I'm not sure how current the slide is. This looks pretty current. They've cut out some of the virtual groups to kind of concentrate on some other ones, but they've got different languages and different topics across the realm. This is the last slide I'm going to do before I turn you over to Christopher. We are giving away 2 free comps today to pass. We've been promoting the discount code contest all year, and as part of that, we won 2 free comps. We actually won 3, but we're using that for something else. But we're giving away 2 free comps that will pay for 3 days of Summit. Now, what it does not pay is travel to and from the conference. It does not pay for your hotel and lodging, and it pays for food, a breakfast and a lunch at the conference itself. You can get plenty of free dinners and breakfast and different things if you want it. So you could pretty well eat for close to free. But one of the things we are going to request is, and we're going to give these away at the end of the session after all the questions are done. So you need to stay around for that if you want to win one. We need you to at least be sure that you can accept these terms because there's only 3 weeks left before pass. And if we give this to you, we probably wouldn't have time to give it to somebody else if you indeed couldn't use it. So hopefully you came prepared for that. With that being said, I'm going to turn this over to Chris and let him start on his session. Chris, let's see, you're open and I'm going to mute myself and let me make you the presenter.
Okay, thank you.
Let's make sure.
Okay. Yes. Do you have my screen now?
Yes, that looks good. That's the screen we're wanting.
Okay, excellent.
I'm going to mute myself now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, welcome to this session. Today I will look at my presentation is managing SQL Server farms versus managing SQL Server instances. And hold on a second. My name is Per Christopher Undheim, and I work as a senior DBA at DB Watch. where I mostly work with research and development related to SQL Server and Oracle platforms. And today I will look at how SQL Server database management changes from an instance focused in the past to managing large farms of SQL Server instances where we need a different structure. And today we will be addressing cows and farms in general, and we had some feedback that some people don't like how the cows are treated in this presentation, but no cows were harmed. Okay, some years ago, a farmer could live on his farm quite happily with 4 cows. You know, they would have names like Rose or Flower or Daisy or Bella, and the farmer would know each and every cow and talk to them every day and milk them into a bucket and clean up after them. But today, no farmer can live like this anymore. And in the same way, some years ago, a DBA only worked on a few SQL servers where you know them and you know their name and their function, and you log in and check them every day. You clean up any mess and you adjust their settings. And if this is how your database environment looks today, and you're a full-time DBA, you might be losing your job, because this is a clear case for outsourcing. Now, this is what 42 cows look like. And it is not an uncommon amount for a farmer to work on today. However, I think that around this time, you as a farmer, you don't get a strong personal relationship with each and every cow. This is also about the time when you start using names like 578 47563812-0032, and that's a example of a cow identifier from Norway. And at this point, you might still know a few of the cows, maybe the ones that have a special pattern or the ones you grew up with. But you can't pet each and every one anymore. You can't milk them by hand. You need machines to help you with the process of managing cows. This is 42 database instances. And this is about the average what we see one DBA work with today. And same as for the cows, for me this is around where the time where I don't feel I have a strong personal relationship with each and every one of them. This is also where we start using names like db-ws8-s-32 on our servers to encode information about them, or what we call metadata, in their server names. This example could be a database server with Windows SQL Server 2008 located in Stavanger, server number 32. And this point, you will still know a few of the instances, but usually only the ones that cause problems. And only by the powers of scripts and Excel, you will know the IP, the version, session count from last week, disk usage some time ago, and memory usage from last time you checked. You're sort of in control some of the time, but not always, and maybe not when you need to be. A lot of DBAs will find that when the number of database instances they manage is higher than what you can check in a day, your control starts slipping away, and reactive DBA work, like putting out the fires, takes precedence over the proactive DBA work that would have kept everything running all the time. And still we see that environments of this size, if the DBA is not fully on top of the situation and making sure that the IT department knows that you're doing a good job and the customers know that you're doing a good job, you might be a candidate for outsourcing. Now, this is 170 database instances. Not an uncommon amount of database instances to keep track of for one DBA. At least if you're full-time and want to be on top of your games. But now you can have as much scripts or Excel as you want. You will only keep your head partially over water. At this point, most DBAs will have some sort of monitoring already in place. This will only alert you when something is wrong. And it's mostly an exercise of diving into a wreck of an instance and trying to fix the most important before running to the next. At least at this point, and perhaps also in the previous sized environments, it's time to let go of knowing database instance names. It's time to look further than encoding metadata into server names. And you need software that will keep you on top of the game, regardless of database environment. We need to learn from the farmers managing cows and use that knowledge when we look at managing database instances. And unlike mismanaged cows, here the pain is divided between the DBA and the end users. This is what an environment with 1,200 database instances looks like in PowerPoint. And in Australia, there are many farms with this and more milking cows. Cows that they need a daily maintenance. They need to be milked every day. And just like database instances. And if you're in healthcare or you work as a service provider, this could be your reality. And the future is not all data in one central database, but information fragmented across multiple sources where new database instances arrive every day. And maybe it's me that's a bit lazy or forgetful, but long before I've reached the size of environment, I would have forgotten the name of the database instances, what they do, who cares about them, and the simple but repetitive tasks of querying each database instance and then copy and paste the results into an Excel sheet sounds like labor camp. And I think that with data, such as the number of sessions connected to the database instance or the results of querying the first database instance, that's outdated by the time you reach the last. And with DBWatch, we have customers that manage this size of SQL Server farms with one DBA. To be efficient on managing SQL Server farms or any other type of farm, you need a top-level view with the possibility to drill down into individual instances. And some of the instances will never be touched by a DBA. It's simply not possible to dive into each and every one of them. Several new instances are created every day, and several are destroyed. The few that cause a problem that can't be fixed automatically is the ones you need to manually dive into. There are several tasks that we need to address if we want to reproduce or improve the automation that's done when farmers manage cows in the world of databases. We need to address automation, where we supply and monitor all the maintenance jobs that keeps the system running, like backups, index management, and DBCC checks. You need dashboards so that you can get an easy overview of how the instances are doing in key aspects such as performance, capacity, or automation. And you need monitoring so that problems that could affect uptime and production, you get them from the instances and they are fixed before users notice. You need incident workflow so that the right person are alerted about the problems in the right way. You need a management interface so that you don't waste time when you could correct the problems. You need integration into other systems so that data flows securely to the right systems. And you need reporting so management or customers are kept up to date on how the systems are performing. And of course, security and access control to make sure everything is safe. This is a maintenance job overview. And at a glance, we can see how all the maintenance jobs are running. You see instance name, the database platform, status from each of the maintenance jobs that we have running, such as DBC or analyze or rebuild of indexes and tables, or the cleanup MSDB job, where a number indicated how many errors we have. At the end, we see a summary. So to sort the instances based on the ones that have the highest number of errors. Last wheel, we have a customer name. We can here easily see where the maintenance jobs are running, where there is a problem, and where we need to address to make the automation run smoothly. It's not just to implement a lot of maintenance routines. I'm sure that a lot of the DBAs here are aware of the Hallengren scripts. And they are really great scripts, and a lot of people use them. But implementing maintenance routines are one thing. You also need to make sure that they run properly, that are implemented across the entire estate, and that you can pick up any problems that I might have. And that's part of the key to DBWatch as well, automation of manual work with top-level control, such as overviews over performance, capacity, and maintenance, combined with in-depth monitoring and management across all database platforms, locations, and environments. So this is an example screenshot of how a top-level dashboard looks like in software. It's an example. It's a managed service provider. They have around 180 database instances on 7 different locations. And we can see the instance name, the database platform, the number of CPU cores on that instance, a bar displaying total weights, and then the first top 3 weights and how much they represent out of the total weights bar. Also, we can see what the weights are on this instance on an average day during working hours. And at the end, we have a list of ignored weight types and the customer name. Instead of waiting for an end user to notice slow database performance, you can here see with a glance where you have a performance issue. And this enables the DBA to drill down into that issue by right-clicking and running a report or switching over to database instance-centric management view in the same tool. Now it's easy for the DBA to manage a lot more databases than before in a more proactive fashion because it's easy to stay on top of the problems instead of reacting on them. Notice as well that this is across database versions. So with views like this, you can also get control over other database platforms. Another example of how useful this can be is this overview of all the disks on all the database instances and how full they are. This view also lists the instance name, the platform, the host name, and then we list the first 6 volumes and the names, fill level, and size. And the last column is for customer name. This allows you, with a glance, to know if there are any disks near full before you get alerted by the normal monitoring system. There's a lot more views like this, so I don't go into all of them. But there is individual views for file I/O, database relative performance, logical reads, page life expectancy, capacity views for memory and data cache, etc. And these are implemented as queries on top of the database level, so they can be adjusted, altered, supplemented by your own queries. And in another presentation, we can go into how that is done. But this allows you to look at any data from any database and across the entire server farm. This is a traffic light type dashboard, and it's on a system with 1,262 database instances on 6 locations. On the top, we get a prioritized list of issues detected, sorted by severity, and with the information on instance name and the name of the monitoring alert, its status, when the error was discovered, and a short status detail. And right-click would allow us to run the report for the issue or switch to management console for this database instance, so we can quickly go ahead and fix the problem. Well, we then have the traffic lights, where you can see that there is 28 instances that are in status lost connection, where we are not able to connect to the instance anymore. And that should be your first priority. If you have instances you can't connect to, you have to make sure that you have looked into that issue. And then you have 2 instances in status alarm, 147 instances in status warning, and 1,081 instances that have nothing wrong with them. And 4 of the instances are not currently monitored, maybe because the monitoring has been turned off or due to expected maintenance downtime. And the bottom columns are the instance names and their status time corresponding with each status light. For instance, in the lost connection instance list, we get the instance where we have lost connection to it for the longest on top. Another important part of keeping control is monitoring the database instances itself. We see that more and more customers end up with more than one database platform over time. And that's why it's important with cross-platform support in the monitoring tool. It keeps you future-proof. And even if you're on the hardcore SQL Server DBA, maybe you get an old Sybase or Oracle instance that can't be migrated. It's important to get control over that as well, because you don't want to be the one to have to fix database instances you are not familiar with, crashing on you because you haven't been on top of the problems early. Long backwards compatibility is important as well. Sometimes you get stuck with some systems that are you get stuck with them far longer than you should. And there is actually some out there that still are using SQL Server 2000. And if you have already have made your own monitoring checks, it's designed so that you can integrate them into monitoring checks in DBWatch with an editor built in. And my example, as all the code that of what we do on the database instances are open code. And cross-platform monitoring also allows teams of DBAs from different database platforms to work together through a common tool and help each other out with common standards for monitoring, security, and reporting across the entire database estate. And if you, some companies, you have maybe a SQL Server DBA and then Oracle DBA at the same company. And with a common tool, a common way to work, you can overlap when there is holidays or sick leave. This is an example of a top-level monitoring view where we have our status of the instance, its instance name, the database platform, what edition we have, the host IP, when the instance was last started, current number of sessions, disk usage, memory usage, database count, and an activity bar indicating the current activity level of this database instance. And this, of course, as well is a query that can be changed. And then we click and go into the instance where you see a list of all the alerts that are running on that instance. We can see their status, what the check is called, the last time it's run, its schedule, the next scheduled time for this alert, and details, which is a short status message. You can double click to get a longer status message, or you can right click on the alert to allow you to run it or run the detailed report or configure it, disable it, or add notes for yourself or other DBAs so that the next time this alert turns red, a DBA can go in, another DBA maybe in your team, and see what you have written about the check. It's also possible to open it in an editor. And there is maybe 50 to 70 checks for SQL Server. While alerts delivered internally in the software is useful, it's important also that the right individuals get informed about the problems discovered. DBWatch integrates directly with multiple ticketing or enterprise-wide monitoring solutions, such as SCUM. And also through emails, which can be tailored for machine reading or given to different people depending on the instance name or the groups or the type of checks or the time of day or a number of other metrics. For instance, maybe the person responsible for backups needs only the backup alerts, or after hours you want somebody else to handle the alarms for production. You can also use the built-in scripting engine to enable custom integrations. While detecting problems and alerting the right people is important, one of the most important things is to correct the problems that we found, hopefully before they turn into problems for users and customers. With a management interface, we allow an easy workflow from the problems that we are detected in monitoring into an interface for correcting the same problems in the database instance. This allows for greater DBA efficiency and more time for proactive DBA work. The management interface is highly modular and connects well with a modular security engine. So the repetitive tasks can be offloaded from the DBA to either first-line support or developers, by giving them read-only access to the database instances or a select few buttons or possibilities that they can be used to fix common repeating problems without alerting the DBA, but also with keeping a complete audit of what they do. For instance, if you have a development group, you might give them access to the development systems so that they could do some of the DBA work themselves, and also maybe access to a read-only production so that they can view and see how their queries are performing in production, but without being able to drop the database. Or you could have a scenario where you want consultants to have access to the system. So you want to give them access to the database. They have to do some work, but you don't want to give them the password. So you can give them access through the product without giving them the actual passwords to the database instance. And then once they're completed, you can remove their access. And you also keep a complete audit of what they do. So you are sure that they haven't stolen all your data. The management interface is like a tree structure on the left side, and graphs and tables on the right. The interface is designed to be easy to understand and get to know. And where we have the first overview, you get information about key information about the database instance, overview of the largest databases or table spaces, depending on platform, and overview of memory, logical reads, and session load. From there, drill down and check things like current sessions, or while you also keep an eye on CPU usage and session load and logical kilobyte flush scans, page activity, or logical reads. And this is also modeled based on other management type tools, so that you will find the buttons you miss from those tools here. You can also drill down, and there's lots of menus and buttons to give you control and to enable you to change or add or adjust the database instance and fix problems that you have detected in monitoring. All the All the menus and dashboards in the management are individual files. So you can add buttons or add possibilities into the management interface yourself as well. One other key aspect is integration. This allows the DBA to automate actions, such as adding new instances or exporting data to other parts of the business. It could also be used for integration with other products, such as other enterprise-wide monitoring tools, so that the DBA can have a specialized tool for his or her job and still be able to send the errors to a common ticketing system for the enterprise. Another example of integration is you need to pull data from different sources and put them back into the database, or pulling data from one or more databases and pushing it to a REST API. This can be good when a DBA wants to expose parts of the data, but not give direct access to the data instance. It's also full integration with email, so that you get reports pushed to the right users at the right time, and alerts get pushed to different users depending on time and the instance name or what type of alert it is. You can also integrate DBWatch with organizational data. So this brings us back to the time we encoded metadata into the instance name itself. For example, if you have a database with metadata about the database instances, such as customer name, location, application, SLA requirements, phone numbers, or for the DBA to call, or links to documentation, DBWatch can read data from the database storing this and populate metadata on each of the database instances you monitor. Or it can be populated on other objects. This enables you in turn to be able to use the metadata to structure the layout of the product itself. You can create custom dashboards grouped on the metadata, such as dashboards for each customer or each location, or you can use it to control access and security, or export data to other applications enriched with metadata. There is a lot of possibilities. So many it's hard to define before we get asked by our customers. And metadata can also be added through the GUI or through dynamically defined queries, such as SQL statements. DBWatch also has built-in reporting with a set of report templates that can be used right out of the box or tailored to individual businesses. It also has a built-in report editor that allows you to make your own reports. The reports can merge data from multiple sources and database platforms, and also enriched with metadata. This can then be either scheduled, so that you get it on a regular basis through email, or it can be pushed to a web server. There is a lot of templates, such as this for consolidation support, that monitors what databases are actually not in use by over time checking connected sessions, SQL statements, log data flushed, and other sources of information for evidence that the database are used by someone. This enables consolidation to be an ongoing process, where you get a list of servers that need separate instances, list of servers of databases that can be merged together, and list of databases that have not been used in the last year. Then you can take them offline, take a backup, and you don't need to waste time on taking a daily backup or wasting space for databases that no one is using. It also helps you to decide what databases are the most resource demanding, which can be consolidated together to help you reduce the number of database instances you have to manage. I've done a whole talk on actually only this report once, so there is a lot more to say about it, but we try to, well, in some companies, consolidation is a large project that is obsolete just a few months after you reach the end of it. But we think instead that consolidation should be an ongoing process. It's just one of many things that a DBWatch that it's designed to keep the DBA in control of every aspect of their environment. So we come to access control. And we know that the larger and more complex the company is, the more importance there is on making sure that only the right people have access to the right data at the right time. And you can also, you're used to maybe giving people the passwords to the database, such as consultants, or you can allow developers access to production data. And they sometimes need to look at it, but you need to do that with the power to destroy the data or to remember the passwords or possibly steal your data. In DBWatch, you can assign rights to run SQL queries based on the database instance without knowing the password of the database. And you can give developers access to a read-only dashboards or to read-only management. And actually, almost any fine-grained access scenario through DBWatch that you can think of, all with complete audit of all operations, all with a secure communication layers from the client to the DBWatch server. And if security is something you enjoy and you have high security requirements, it should be all covered in this product. We have some very paranoid people doing security development, and we have had third-party analysts checking it. It's actually graded for the highest military security level. So you can be sure that there is something in there for you as well. We have an advanced security engine built into the product, one that integrates with Active Directory and allows both a static and a dynamic security module and combinations of both. This means that you can have a static model, which means that person A has access all the time to object 1 or 2 with a specific set of privileges. This is, I think, the common way to approaching access. Here it's fine-grained to the point of individual buttons or menus or graphs in the dashboard, but you can also combine this with a dynamic security module, where who has access with what privileges to what and when can be adjusted, for instance, by SQL statements. So it can read from a different database, or you can lock out certain users when there is a security incident, or you can lock out consultants from accessing the database outside of business hours. And this enables a more active approach to maintaining the security of your databases. So you can have another database updating the lists of people with access, and you can react on changes in the environment to block users or to change security settings. So as with the process of managing cows on the farm, there's many functions that needs to be covered when you want to manage a lot of database instances. And our philosophy in DBWatch is to integrate all the functions you need to achieve this in one tool to make the benefits of increased DBA productivity as high as possible. So I hope that when you return to your farm, you get some fresh ideas. And you can get a free evaluation copy of this software from dbwatch.com. And you can also reach me at Christopher@dbwatch.com if you have any questions. So that is the end of the presentation. Do you have any questions?
Hi, Chris.
Yeah.
There is a question here asking if this requires an agent on the database server.
No. The architecture is that there is a dbWatch server installed in a central location, and that dbWatch server connects to each database instance. And inside that database instance, a small database around 50 megabytes is created, where we store some of the data. But it doesn't use any agent on the database instances itself. No.
Lovely. And do you have I suppose, a limit on what SQL servers that you can manage with these? So if a customer has a SQL 2008, 2005, or 2000 server, can I manage them?
Yeah, so dbWatch supports SQL Server from 2000 up to, I think, 2019. Yeah, so we try to keep it from 2000 and up to the latest current version. And similar with other platforms. So if you're in Oracle, it's from Oracle 8 upwards. Yeah, so because this is cross-platform, so it can run on SQL Server, Oracle, Sybase, MySQL, MariaDB, Postgres, everything same tool.
Lovely. There's a question about discoverability. Does it discover databases automatically, or do you have to manually add them to the inventory, I guess?
Well, there is multiple ways to add databases to dbWatch. You can, of course, add it one by one. You can add it in bulk, where you have the host names and passwords and so on in an Excel sheet and paste it in 100 at a time. There is auto discovery functionality that scans the network and look for database instances. And there's also a scripting engine, so you can add you can script so that database instances are automatically added to dbWatch.
Lovely. There's lots of questions coming in now, so I'm just kind of reading through them, see what I can get.
Excellent.
That's relatively, hopefully, a simple question. Can you have different versions of SQL Server in the portal of dbWatch?
Yes. So all the versions of that we support from 2000 upwards can be together in the portal. Yeah.
Lovely. There is a question about licensing. Is it licensed by instance or by the dbWatch server itself?
Yes, it's licensed by the number of instances. You can have multiple dbWatch servers. So if you have multiple environments, locations, for instance, you can put one dbWatch server on each, and your license is counted as the combined number of database instances.
There's a relatively creative question here. If a customer is migrating to the cloud, can dbWatch help with the capacity and performance information to recommend IaaS or PaaS SKUs in Azure or AWS?
Yeah, well, there is an entire separate talk and part of the product actually where we can do performance comparisons between Azure, yes, which is also supported by the product, by the way, Azure databases compared to SQL Server on-premise, so that you get a similar performance in Azure that you get on-premise and things like that. So it will indeed help you select the right sized database instance performance level in Azure. So you can, yeah, look and compare it to what you have on-premise.
Lovely. I know you showed us a couple of screenshots and examples, but there is someone here asking if it can monitor the health of HADR environments, such as always-on availability groups.
Yes, of course, always on availability groups are supported by the applications. So yeah, we do that.
There is a question asking if you'll be presenting at that conference.
What? At PASS? No,
Yeah.
sorry, no. No, sorry. I won't.
There's always next year.
Yeah.
And then I think the most of these now are just thank yous and kind of repetitions of questions that have already been asked. So I think we're actually okay from the question side, unless there's someone else
Excellent.
who'd like to speak out.
Yeah. So if anyone have questions that they haven't asked, or if they want to ask them more privately with me, just send an email, christopher@dbwatch.com. I will happily answer any questions that you might have. Yeah. Or help you test it if you want. If you download the product from the webpage, you get a trial license, but you can also use it for test purposes on 3 instances without a license key. So without a time limit.
That's perfect, and I think the fact that you're always available for questions on DB Watch is going to be real helpful as well.
Excellent. Okay, thank you for everybody that has been listening to me. And are you wrapping up the session, or?
I am. I think Steve is just going through some final just checks at the moment, but I will say right now there's a lot of great presentations, and thank you so much coming through. So if you could see the chat questions, I'm sure you'd be very, very happy about it. Steve, are you there?
Yes. I was just getting back on. Christopher, do you have anything, any slide you can put up for the next few minutes that has all the contact information for DB Watch? If you want to put that back up. I've got one more person that I need to pick for the free pass. If people will answer their messages, we've already got one winner. His name is Greg Leffler, and I'm getting ready to present the other one. Hold on just a second. But we want to be sure that they have all the contacts and all the ways to get to you. Do you have one that shows where you can get free downloads and free trials?
Well,
if you have one of those, you can put that up.
The one that's showing says it can be downloaded from dbwatch.com. So if you don't go there, there is a button that you will see quite early about free trial. And it's just to click and register, and then you get you're able to download the product. And of course, if you have any issues, you can contact me. We also have a YouTube channel with a lot of videos regarding how to set it up and how to use the product, and a wiki page on wiki.dbwatch.com with lots of information of how to set up and how to do more specific adjustments to the product. There is actually DBWatch is kind of behind the scenes. It's designed a bit like a BI solution, business intelligence solution, but tailored towards the DBA. So it can be used for anything that where you can take data from any source and present it or do something to it. It's very flexible, and it allows us also to do. We develop DBWatch inside of DBWatch. There's built-in development systems, editors there. So we have customers that have developed all their own things to put into the product. Yeah, replacing our code actually as possible.
Yeah, it sounds really customizable, which is really good.
Yes, it's everything that is. If I just this is a bit off topic maybe, but if I just hop some slides back to a view of the product, so everything that happens inside the. Can you see my button inside this frame?
Yeah, can see them.
Inside this frame here, that can be customized, customer specified. So how this view is and how this view is and what you do can be replaced. So you can also group this in different ways and filter and everything, so that if you have 2,000 database instances, you don't want to have a long list of databases. You can just put a filter on, and you only work with the ones that you want to, the ones you intend to work with, so that you don't accidentally do something on the wrong instance. So you can group them by customer or location or yeah, anything you want really.
Yeah, that seems handy because there's always some groups of servers that there's no physical definition of them or distinction, but logically they have to be separate from anything else.
Yeah. So actually, if you see that there is a machine here that looks like two databases joined together, that's always on availability group clusters thing.
Ah, perfect.
So they look slightly different in the overview because we then grouped all the nodes in the cluster underneath that cluster name.
Right. And as well, I can see the different database types as well, like MySQL, Oracle, and the rest.
Yeah. So that's a good example of a customer that have a different database types in the same view.
Well, we have our second winner, and I'm glad you got a chance to do some more explanation too. Their name is Yahalam Takiba. So Greg Leffler and Yahalam Takiba will be going to Pass Summit this year, and maybe I can meet them if they want to send an email, their email to me. I'm going to tell Greg that. Then it's been so good. This was a very good presentation, and definitely try out some downloads and some trial copies. I did one time, and I really liked the product. Unfortunately, I don't have the ability. I think it would have helped us in a lot of instances on our in our network. But anyway, thank you. Very good presentation. And do you have anything else, Shane or Chris?
No, not for me, I think.
I'm happy at my side.
Well, good deal. I appreciate it. And we always appreciate your sponsorship. And we will see everybody next month. Thank you.
Thank you all.
If we have any other questions, and they heard that they could send you a question directly if they needed it. But if we get anything through and they allow us to send the questions, if anybody adds anything, we'll send them on to you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
As a lot of times after sessions, people will come up with something, especially if if they download it, they're going to call you or they're going to email you. But just in case, we'll be watching for it.
Yeah, fantastic.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.